That's why I'm not. Sure.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome. Reconstruction meeting, Willard and Orchard. We got a presentation for you guys, that our engineers CMA did up. And, we're just gonna go through some introductions, so you know, everybody in the room. I'm David Foster, some project construction manager for the city. Zach Cronin is actually the project manager for this job, so they'll be out there every day.
Yep.
Eric Feeler's a city engineer. Stephanie Secord is so if you sign up for the email blast, all that stuff will be coming from Stephanie. And so she's our liaison with the public over at Public Works. And then over on my right, John McCarthy, sitting closest to you, is our resident project representative on the job. So he'll be working with Bernice on the job. So he'll be the person that's out there every day, kind of just managing the construction. Next to him is Phil Corbett. He's the head engineer for CMA. And Whitney Bouchard is next to him, and she's the design engineer for the project. So with that, I'm gonna let Zach just kind of stand up and introduce himself, because he's really the project lead on this. And then after we go through the presentation, we'll answer all your questions. Basically, this is a pre-construction meeting. The design's done. We used all the input that we got during the design meetings that we had with you. So we're here to talk about what's gonna happen during the construction. Mr. Ganesh, I didn't introduce you because I don't know you.
My name's John. I'm an assistant project manager with N. Grenese and Sons. And I went to Portsmouth High School and I live in Rye, so. Yeah, it's my backyard.
John, your last name?
Shimatara.
Shimatara.
Yeah.
Okay, welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, Zach. Go for it.
Thank you all for coming. Please excuse me for not standing up. This is a recorded and Zoom meeting, so I'm trying to speak into the microphone for this. And at the end, when there are questions, we will ask that you come up, introduce yourself, and speak into the microphone for your questions. So again, thank you all for coming. The Willard Ave Sewer Separation Project. Slide. Oh, yeah, scroll. PDF on this one. So again, Zach Cronin, Assistant City Engineer, and I'm the project manager for this project. And we've gone through most of this. All right, so the agenda for today, first is the purpose of the project, and then more the overview of the project, which is the scope. We'll get into a rough schedule, when the project's going to start, rough duration of the project, and what to expect, really. This is to give you information on who to contact should anything happen. If you have questions, concerns, anything of that nature, provide contact information and answer any questions. Traffic, so access in and out of the job site, because this is an active construction site. Coordinating with all of you, making sure that everything goes smoothly. There is some interaction that we do need with all of you, primarily with water switching over, any shutdowns or access. And then we'd like to get your questions at the end. So purpose of the meeting, we're presenting this final design. It is, an introduction to N. Grenese, RPR, obviously. We have John. He is our eyes and ears on site. We directly hired John to oversee construction. He is on the project, on site every single day, walking up and down. You will see a lot of him. He is our direct line, and your guys' direct line as well, because he's there watching it at all times. And then we'll get prepared for construction. Oh, sorry. So, project purpose, separation of sewer and stormwater. It's connected in a number of places. I know that there have been issues with odor in the neighborhood, and that will be assisted as part of this. While we're doing the sewer separation, so sewer and stormwater utilities, the water mains have reached roughly the end of their lifespan. So while the road is open, be proactive and replace the water main as well. While the entire road has been now ripped up, we need to replace the surface. And while we're there, doing sidewalks. When everything is completely wrapped up, with any luck, we won't need to do any construction and bother you in the future. It's kind of the goal. So the scope, so the overview, that is water, sewer, stormwater from Middle all the way to Marston. And then water, sewer, stormwater all the way around Orchard, the middle section of Ash, and that entire area is sidewalks and road reconstruction as well. On Orchard Court, that is water mains, water main and sewer main. And then on the lower section or southern section of Ash is extending drainage up that area or up that street. Oh, well, that was the sidewalks and roadway as well. It's a rough schedule to begin. We've received the bids in March, awarded Engrenese here in April. Construction starts in May. That's our work. Unitil, we're working with them, and we'll see that in the coming up. Their work is going to begin a little bit sooner than ours. They have their gas mains in where we want to have sidewalks. They need to move some of their utilities, and we're going to put it underneath the sidewalks. And they need to do that in order to move some of the utility poles out there. So those gas work, movement of some utility poles, and then our construction will begin. And then we see construction ends in summer of 25. That primarily will be final pavement. What we like to do is do all the utility construction, then let it sit for a winter so everything settles down. It allows for groundwater to come in, leave, freeze thaw cycle to happen, and that really settles everything. So we don't have, bumps and dips in the final road surface after. So primarily when we say construction will be finalized summer of 25, it's the final paving. This is a longer project, as you can see. So there may be some other outstanding bits and pieces, but the goal is to have final paving, be the construction of next summer.
Mostly complete this year.
Yes, mostly complete by.
Final.
Yeah. So work hours in the city of Portsmouth, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Primarily, they don't always use that time, but it's the allowable time frame. So that is what we like to say, and that is the allowable work hours. Like I said, Eversource has come through and moved a couple of the utility poles already. There's some gas work that needs to start, and we are pushing them to start a little bit sooner than the 29th from Unitil, but that was the date they were able to provide us as this will be done or will be started by this date. So we're working with them a little bit on there. When they do their gas work, then a couple more utility poles will get moved, and then that is on Orchard there, yes. And there is some utility work on the south side of Ash Street. There was a little bit on Willard as well. That's
It's quite a bit. So the gas company Unitil, they pay bills to Unitil. Unitil is hired RH and White. It's a contractor that has worked here before. They're a good contractor. They'll be working for Unitil, replacing the gas line. We asked them to start on Orchard. Nearest Wyberg, that's where the utility poles that need to get relocated right in that area couldn't be installed until the gas line gets moved. So right now, RHY is scheduled again May 1 to start relocating that gas main. After that, Eversource will come back. They have to move 3 more poles on Orchard in order for Eversource to finish their work. Meanwhile, Comcast should be starting to relocate wires on Willard. So the poles that Eversource has already finished on Willard, you're gonna start seeing Cat TV starting to work on those poles next. And then, so everybody's trying to get wrapped up before Bernice gets there so that they get on there.
It is a process with the utility poles. Eversource will plant a new one, and then everybody else needs to come through and move their utilities to the new pole before Eversource can pull the old pole. So there is some time delay there. A bit why I've said rough schedule, because it is a bit of a living project. And then we're going to get into the actual utilities that Grenice will be working on. So they're going to start more than likely with the temporary water mains. So that is when they shut down the water mains in the street so that we can start removing them. They lay temporary water main on the side of the road, ramp it or bury it across driveways so that you guys can get in and out. And that will be filled, bacteria tested, filled, disinfected, bacteria tested, make sure it's completely safe. Then they will dig to your curb stop outside to connect on there. Then they will, yes, the curb stop is, if you notice all the dig safe markings out there, there's probably a little blue flag or a little bit of blue paint in front of your house. That is a valve. That is to shut off water in case anything were to happen inside the house or it's the ability to shut off water to that lot. That is what that is. And that is where the temporary water gets connected in. So it's just to feed the water.
You don't go into your house. You hook it up outside. Generally speaking, when they hook it up outside, they will replace that little blue disc that's outside each of your house. They'll do that first, they'll replace that, so you get a good valve outside. So that is kind of step one. So a lot of the utilities, I'm sure CMA's can go through that process, but a lot of the utilities can put back, when you build a job like this, you have to keep your sewers running, you have to keep the water main functional. So everything has to be kind of built in a very specific sequence so that you don't run out of water, your toilet, all that sort of thing that you depend on us to do. We have to do in a certain sequence. So the easiest way to do that, put everybody on temporary water in the construction zone. That way, we make sure that when they're digging underground, they don't accidentally pull up water surfaces. It's kind of above ground.
So with that, there will be some scheduled water shutdowns, and anytime there's a scheduled water shutdown, we will let you know 48 hours in advance. They're typically very short, but we like to notify for a slightly longer amount of time for safety, but typically less than 4 hours for any water main shutdowns and any plans. So you guys will be notified prior to that happening. And when they switch over from the existing main to the temporary water main, that'll be a small interruption. And then from the temporary back onto the new main, that'll be another small interruption in your water service.
Zach, excuse me, how much advance notice are you saying?
48 hours.
48 hours, okay. And how do you let us know? A little flyer on our door?
Yes.
We like to use the email blast as well as flyers that we do put out. So that,
That's for a holistic shutdown. If they're just doing your service that day, John will knock on your door a couple of days ahead of time, kind of let you know where there is in the schedule. So we tend to move literally down the street. So you see that as construction moves on, we'll kind of start one end and work your way down. Get in the main, start one end. And services. Generally speaking, it's usually a pretty good process.
there is a little bit of coordination there for, location and elevations of sewer services. So they may, knock on your door, say, can we come in and see where it comes out? So there is a little bit of communication there, which is another reason we like to get your contact information at sign in. And then we'll talk about some ledge removal. There is a little bit of ledge, well, maybe more than a little ledge expected in the area. So that will require some hammering. I believe blasting is included as possibility in the contract. I don't know if they plan on it. If they do plan on it, there is a requirement to reach out and notify everybody within a 500-foot radius of where they plan to blast and send out certified mailers to allow for inspections of properties to get a pre-blast inspection. That way, if you guys think any damage has happened, we can compare that to the pre-blast condition. And if they send that out, we highly recommend you guys take that up. It is a free service that we require for any contractor to do blasting. Traffic control. I know access in and through the site is very important. We are going to keep one lane open, alternating. So, it's the person with the sign. One side can go, one cannot. We'll have signals and flaggers. We are keeping that in order to have things like fire department, police, EMT able to pass through at all times. At the end of the day, they are required to have the road open. So that's after that 6 p.m. time. If you may come home from work late and then they will be gone. But they are required to have an open street at the end of every single workday, and that is for traffic to come through. They will be coming through doing utility work from one end to the other, as David said. They will be doing that multiple times, unfortunately. Typically what happens is they come through with the deepest utility first, which is usually the sewer. They lay it one end to the other. Then they'll come through with the next deepest utility, which typically water, come around to the end, and then come through with the shallowest, which would be the stormwater. So it's going to look like they are digging in the same spot repeatedly because they kind of are. So they will be passing by your property multiple times, and if they will be blocking your driveway, they will notify you before they do so that you could move your car out of the driveway. And then should you need to use it, you can walk to the car, have access to it, and go wherever you need to go. And we continue to work with you guys on that. We've had very good luck with working with contractors on that. Yep. Coordination, like we said, a lot of advance notice for any shutdowns, blocking of driveways, service connections, switching it over, letting you guys know if there will be interruptions. Any concerns that you guys have, reach out with the contact information. My number is up there. We also have John's number, or walk outside and grab him and just, this is what's going on.
I'll have business cards up here too.
Yes.
My contact info. So
This whole PowerPoint presentation will be on the website on this project.
Yes.
So
So
find it again if you want.
yes, we do have a web page on this on the city's website. Typically what I do to get to it is go to the search bar and just type in Willard. That will get you right there. It's the first research result that'll pop up. It's the easiest way to get to it. And we have an email sign up on there as well that you can add your email address to if we didn't catch it here. And that'll be included on all the email blasts for any information to send out to all of you.
And if you're here because you got that notice by email, you're on the list.
Yes. Here we can see it. We have been referring to it as the Union and Willard project. We went out for one design engineer for both projects. They were both sewer separation projects. It was a way to consolidate and save time and money. So that was the goal. At this time, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, we'll ask you to come up to the table, speak into the microphone so the recording can get it and future people can, who have the same question can have it answered as well.
We have the plans. Come up there.
Yeah, so I have it on a thumb drive, or we can go back to the slide with the road sheet on there. You might be able to blow that up a little bit. Yep. I think the next one probably. There we go. Yeah, maybe can you make that bigger?
Control.
I think it's the bottom right. Is the plus sign.
Yes. That's red.
All right.
Red trees that, yes, we went to Trees and Greenery for a number of them and unveiled.
Does that cut too much off here?
That's, so when we do regrade the road, there is an aspect of repaving to tie in the aprons of driveways within the right of way. So that is the yellow that we're seeing there is to tie in the road because we're altering the grade slightly to make sure, any excess or any water that falls in the street does not negatively impact people's properties.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add that you can see some driveways, the yellow on the screen, go beyond the right of way, which is typically the back of sidewalk area, as in the side of the sidewalk closest to your house. And the reason for that is that we needed a lot of room to tie in because there's certain grades that we have to meet. We can't be steeper than a certain percentage as we tie into your driveway. So the ones that would have been really steep, that's why you see a larger yellow section there.
And that's in the interest of keeping ADA compliant slopes on our sidewalks.
Yes.
Is there more to this picture?
Oh, that's American with Disability Act. Sorry, that is to ensure we have adequate and legally complying slopes on our sidewalks.
Right. And there is more. I think somebody's asking because they probably live close to Wybird and you can scroll and
Yeah, it's
Stephanie.
not quite center.
Yeah, you can see a little bit to the right there. Right. The trees, so we have different colors for the trees. So you can see all the trees that are green. You see little green blobs there. So those are trees that are remaining. The red are ones we definitely have to remove. And if there's orange up there, it's ones that we are trying to keep, but we may have to remove. But things may change during construction. I think one big thing is that when we're doing the sidewalk installation, sometimes we're really close to a tree and we might damage the roots and then we have to make a decision. But if we know that ahead of time, John's really good about making sure that we have the trees and greenery committee out there and we may have to transplant a tree. Is that what happened for Union Street? Yeah, I think we had to, yeah. We try.
We like to protect
We do
trees.
not
Trees are
kill-
very nice. We like
kill your
trees.
tree,
Our
right.
arborist, Max Swader, is very passionate about trees. They brought up Union Street. There was one that we were, going to protect and realized it was a little too close to the sidewalk. We were able to transplant it into one of our parks. And then at the completion of that job, because we're waiting on final pavement, because it happened last year, that is on the list of getting a new tree through the city's tree planting program. We do care about trees quite a bit.
We have a question, Emily Doe, who may be directly related. Emily, you have a question?
I do have a question, but it is not directly related to the trees, so I can wait if we need to wait on that.
You have the floor. Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
I have two questions for you. One is about the timeline of the start of the actual digging. I saw the timeline for the utilities, et cetera, but when do you guys expect to actually start tearing apart Orchard and Ash and Willard? That's my first question. And then my second question is about the sump pumps. And if we were hoping to have our sump pump tied into the system, when would our portion be needed to be done by for that? And, oh, sorry, last question. I had three, I forgot. One is about sidewalks and when is an estimate for when you would assume, because I saw that about the paving in the 2025, but I assume the sidewalks would be intended to be done earlier than that. And I'm asking because I need to redo my walkway.
Okay. So, first question,
Gas company's gonna start.
yes, gas
Oh,
company.
also, Dave, we can't hear you on Zoom. You're too far away from the mic. Sorry.
I guess not.
I guess not. Emily, can you hear me now?
I can.
So the digging is gonna start in earnest with the gas company on May 1st.
Okay.
So Bernice will be there, the gas company will still be there when Bernice gets there, so. You can assume that May 1st, you're gonna have visitors and it's gonna be constant more or less until Thanksgiving.
Okay.
The second question was regarding sump pumps, so. We will, as part of the drainage installation. Give most houses drainage connections, so if you're getting a drainage connection. That'll be in sometime near the end of summer, you can expect, more or less. And then sidewalks, we're hoping to get most of the sidewalks built before the end of the construction year. If it doesn't happen everywhere, then it would happen in the spring of 25, but we're expecting at this point. That most of them would be functional before winter.
Okay.
What is your address, Emily?
Well, so I am technically 127, but on the map, you guys have me listed as 121 Willard, but I'm 127.
Oh. We can revise that.
And my kids were like, that's not our house. I was like, oh, mistakes happen.
Yeah, sidewalks just get put in last, unfortunately.
Sidewalks going last, yeah, okay.
And we have stubs shown on the drawings there, but I would say, once we get closer to your property, if there is some ability for us to move them, if there's a, your downspouts coming down over here, you have a sump pump coming out of this side of the house versus another side. So that's something where we can coordinate with you
I
to make sure.
believe we spoke previously and your stub is off the ash side of your property.
Correct.
That's where your sump comes out.
So it's in the right spot on the drawings.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah, and one thing that we did at the beginning of the Union Street project and in combination with the Willard Street project, we had flow assessments come and go into people's basements, and they were also marking where your downspouts were and if there were sump pumps and where those came out of. But if people were not home or didn't want people to come into their house, that's why we don't really know where yours is. And during construction, we have to determine that. But the more we could find out at the beginning, the better. But yeah, there'll be a
Yeah.
opportunity that later. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that I had any of my tasks done ahead of time, right? So I appreciate all of this information. Thank you.
So the folks from the
Yes.
audience, yeah, if you have a question, come on up and then, yeah, just give your address and.
Yeah, we're right across the street of Ash on 111. We don't know the condition of our connection to the sewer. It's an older house, so we're thinking of having that redone while you have it open. How's that work with you?
So we have worked with residents before. You are able to either, reach out to your own contractor and we can coordinate, try to schedule when they're working on theirs to also have you be able to get through to yours. There have been times, and this is not something that I'm guaranteeing, it's if Grenice and Sons are open to this kind of agreement, but you can reach out to them as well to see if while they're there, come to an agreement from the edge of the property into your house. So we replace from the sewer main to the edge of the property and have a clean out connection there. So that is the extent of our work, but it's really all about schedule coordination there.
Right. And it's always a good idea when there's a contractor there, sometimes there's efficiencies. Obviously, we don't want to steer anyone to a certain contractor. We can't do it as a city, but, from our perspective too, that a lot of these side sewers on older properties, this clay pipe or concrete, a lot of cracked pipes and stuff. And it actually, we're doing a sewer separation, but a lot of times it's also, that's draining a lot of water out of the ground into the system too. So it always helps to tighten up the system.
Right, that's what we're looking at.
Oh.
So I wouldn't mind getting maybe some contact information before you guys go.
Oh, and related to that, I just had a comment. It's really good to talk to John when you have questions like that and you're thinking about doing that, because if you're on site and you talk to somebody with the Grenice shirt on, they might be a laborer who has no idea what's going on. So then you're like, but I talked to somebody and I told them, and they will not remember. So John is the one that will take notes. He does field reports. Phil and I know everything that's going on because of John. So yeah. That's the good place to start.
One other thing I just thought of, grass cutting season is coming up and I noticed a lot of flags and paints on the lawn. How important are they going to be?
Very.
Very.
Great, so put it back. I kind of thought they
Don't
would.
touch
be,
them.
but-
Don't touch them. Go around them. Unless you want the fire department to show up.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
not a big yard. but- Okay.
I mean, so those are.
They're there
marking
for a reason.
Gas, it's
Yeah,
marking
Yeah, that it's a
electricals,
gas line, yeah. That's.
We don't want to have someone.
We don't want to hit that.
No, I don't want, okay, that's kind of what I figured. And, will you be running a temporary water along Ash?
Yes.
Yes,
Along
we will.
Ash as well, okay.
There's not real estate to kind of have the water main in another location. It's nice sometimes if we have the real estate, you can put the water main in a different location, but here it's,
Yeah,
You know.
temporary, I mean, it's temporary is gonna.
well, in
be-
certain cases, we can put it, a separate line in a different location and then just connect it after.
Yeah,
but,
because we have a camper in the backyard to pull it in and out and not drive over everything.
Oh, they'll make it so you can drive.
Yes,
drive
yes.
around.
Oh, and I didn't catch your name.
Oh, sorry, Bill Collins,
Bill Collins.
111,
Thank you.
house number's right.
Nice to know. Well, we got one right. Yes.
Come on.
Anything else?
I have a follow-up question from Bill's. Steve Adler, I live on.
Could you grab the,
Try this. There you go. Sorry, I gotta change chairs here to get comfortable.
I live at 49 Orchard Street, and I just wanted to make sure I understand. So my house I know is 1900, and I'm assuming that the pipes are old and that but I have no idea whether or not they need to be replaced, the connections from my house to whatever you're putting in. Is that something you'll advise me on?
So we really aren't able to advise on that due to liability reasons. So we can tell you what it looked like when we dig it up, or we
Plumbers
scope
all
it
have
out.
these cameras.
Yeah.
You just basically can access it through a port in your house and they can take a video of it all the way down to the sewer line and you can see other roots, other cracks or other things like that. That's the best way to go. We do it for our utility lines in the street itself. That's the best way. That's the best data because it could be old, but it could be in great shape. It could be even new stuff. It wasn't installed well. It could be,
Yeah, a lot of these companies that do the root cutting,
Yeah.
people have roots,
Roto-rooter.
they all have cameras. So for relatively cheap money, you can have your sewer line TV'd
it's
and
entertainment.
and then, yeah, I find it very entertaining, but
You watch the
but,
video.
yeah.
Roto-Rooter.
Little popcorn,
Any of those,
yeah. So,
Yeah, you'll find a bunch of companies.
Yeah, so generally, we recommend that people have their lines televised. If you even suspect that you have tree roots or anything, if you've never had a problem, then probably you're not gonna have a problem, but and then when Grenice is digging down because we're gonna replace your sewer line up to the back of the sidewalk as part of the project, wherever we're replacing sewer.
Still another.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
so generally speaking, John will be there, he'll be inspecting it and we'll be able to tell more or less. What the condition are of the sewer pipe, and if it's like truly horrible, we will say something. We won't hook up a bad pipe and just kind of like giggle and walk away. That's not our normal MO, so
If I see John walking down the street giggling, I should get nervous.
I do, yeah.
Pictures, thank you.
And there are a couple exceptions to the hooking up to the back of the sidewalk, specifically on Orchard Court. There are some homes where the sewer service comes out the back of the home. And because we're putting the sewer main in the road now, it's going to come out the front of the home. So we are going to have to connect all the way up and through your basement. And so we do have memorandums of understanding that we will be mailing out shortly.
Which houses are those? You have a list? You have a full list?
I have
Ready
a
to go?
list not in my head. What? Which one?
There's only two houses actually. in Orchard Court.
Right.
One of them.
Okay. Looking up there, I know that
It's 28.
162 and 28, right on the right,
Yeah,
the east
so on the
side,
corner of Willard and Orchard Court. Yeah.
come out the back of the house. Those two. That's what we know for sure. And there are other MOUs and it's because we're
MOU.
memorandum of understanding. I did.
Thank
say-
you.
I did.
You did?
say,
Okay.
I did. It, for driveways that go well beyond your property line there and, anytime we have to do a sewer or a storm drain.
Whenever we have to work on private
whenever
property.
we're on your private property, there's a memorandum of understanding. There's about 6 of them, so there aren't too many. We'll
And
be
any of
sending out.
those changes are done at city cost because things have been altered from the established state. We're altering them, so we take care of it.
My other question is just, I've put a lot of time into the garden that's between my house and the sidewalk. When the sidewalk's being put in, will I have any conversation at all exactly how, like, which way that goes or?
So the sidewalk is gonna go where the sidewalk is going to go. We will be careful not to dig beyond where the sidewalk goes within a certain amount. We will use caution when installing the new sidewalk.
And then my understanding is that the whole reason for this project is because the EPA needed the city to have a more efficient wastewater system. Is that correct?
No, it's not exactly correct. It's a little correct, but so in this neighborhood, there's a couple of things going on. One is that, the pipe that goes down Willard actually takes all the flow from the city's pump station that's down by Margaritas that sits in front of Margaritas on Lafayette Road. So-
Brick building?
Yep, that brick building that's kind of in front of,
It's next to the eye care place.
yeah,
Yeah, that little brick building. Lafayette Pump.
so all the businesses and everything that happens on Lafayette Road goes to that little brick building.
Everything south of that.
Yeah,
in town.
yeah.
Right,
And then
including
that
Drive.
and that pumps it up to the intersection of Willard and Lafayette. And then it starts flowing gravity down Willard. So we're replacing that pipe, that sewer pipe, so it's bigger, so it can handle the flows. Because right now, what's happening is when we have high flow events, the sewer is actually, there's so much sewage that it backs up into the storm drainage system, which is combined. So the storm drainage pipes are separated, but there's so much flow in the sewer that it actually backs up and fills into the drains. And that's why sometimes it smells. So that is not going to happen anymore because once we do this project, the storm drains are going to go only into the storm drains. Sewer is going to go only into the sewer. So we won't have that backup issue anymore. And this whole job drains into the other area, Willard and Wyberg, that already got constructed. So we're flowing into good pipe. So this is really the last section of the entire neighborhood that got done over the last 15 years that needed to get done. So we're doing it basically because we have some storm drain issues and we had some undersized sewer. And then while we're there, we're going to replace, like Zach said, we're going to replace the water main because the water main is as old as your house is. It's never been replaced. And then you're going to have a new gas line because that's getting relocated under the sidewalks. And then you're going to get new sidewalks and new pavement. So everything will be graded properly. Everything will be ADA compliant. You'd be like living in a new neighborhood underground. So you should have long-term reliability. I gave a presentation a couple of weeks ago for Islington Street before they started that. And, I kind of had to reinforce the fact that these jobs only happen once a century. So what you're about to go through, yes, is going to be very inconvenient for this summer, but if you live 100 years, you'll be fine because we won't be back. The pipes that we're installing are intended to last a century. So we shouldn't be back, hopefully.
Yes.
Right.
I have hope that anything I put in the ground, I do not need to see again. I really want to keep to that.
My last question is, you said in 2025 will be the final paving. What will the paving look like at the end of this year after all?
So pavement goes down in two layers. There's a structural layer. And then there's a finish layer that goes on top of it. So at the end of this construction season, you'll have what we call binder level pavement. So it'll look like a paved road. It'll smell like a paved road. It's going to be a paved road. It just won't be the smooth, perfectly smooth finish that you will expect on a brand new
But it's
road.
pretty nice. I mean, last.
But it is pretty nice.
Better than it was.
It's going to be way better than it is now.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And this isn't part of like our consent decree, CSO type thing and all that, but it's gonna help with CSOs.
It
quite
will
a
help
bit.
with
There's
CSO,
a-
yeah.
And all these sewer connections too, a lot of the excess flow that we get in our system, all those side sewer connections, even if it's not combined, there's a lot of groundwater that gets into this too. So this is a big benefit to us. It's a big enough area where there's a significant impact to our, our pump stations, our stuff downstream and all that. So we're very excited for this.
Just a quick question. Mike Young, we live at 162 Orchard Street.
Could you speak in the microphone? Thank you.
We were previously told that our sewer didn't have a backflow valve.
Yep.
Would that happen on the city side or is that?
So it's actually very unusual for gravity sewers to have any sort of backflow preventer that would impede any sort of flow by gravity outward. So we generally do not have any sort of
You
backflow.
generally don't need one unless there's
Yes.
a specific reason for something that's going on in your house.
We've never had.
Such as sometimes people put toilets in their basement. And I know that's an odd kind of concept, but when you put a toilet that low, if the city sewer backs up, then the sewage can come back up through the toilet. So in that particular case, you might want to have a backflow preventer in your basement. Generally speaking, in Portsmouth, our basements are too wet to support having lovely bathrooms in the basement. So generally speaking, you don't need that unless you have open plumbing, either a mop sink or something. So like I said, your sewer on Willard at least takes a lot of the flow. It takes all of Lafayette Road. So, there's a significant amount of flow there. So if you have low plumbing, somebody might have put a check valve on because there was an incident long ago. So have John look at your basement if you even have a question on whether you need one or not, and we'll make a kind of an engineering judgment on whether that needs to happen or not. Have you ever had a sewer backup in your house? Okay, then
When we had some work done in the house that we should think about it, but we've never had issues.
so again, CMA's here, the city's here, we're your kind of we're here to help you, really. So if you have questions about your house, grab John, grab Zach, grab me. If you see me out there, we're happy to help and answer questions to the best of our ability.
Then the wastewater drain that's currently in front of our house, would that remain where it's at, or is that going to move? So we're on 162, we're on the corner of North Street.
yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna move there is gonna be another one there, but it's gonna be a little bit more on the
Stephanie, can
road.
You change it to the other map.
Yeah, no, you're not gonna see it.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, it's the green.
Right there.
It's the green sewer pipe.
Well, he's talking about his storm drain, I think, right?
Yeah,
Oh, storm, not
Yeah,
wastewater.
yeah.
Oh,
So
okay.
yes, no, there is a catch basin right in front of your house, and that there will be another one. Actually, it's gonna be two, but just slightly different spot.
Yeah, this map only showed the mains. It didn't show services going to the homes. We have that here.
and then just a quick question. So as the property around us has developed, we've noticed that in our backyard, we're starting to see more and more water collect. Will this at all help that, or?
Generally not. Which address are you?
So I'm in
162.
162. You see where the long yellow line is?
Yeah.
I'm right in the middle.
Okay.
So our backyard abuts with the neighbors on the bottom side.
Yeah, so there's always been, like a wet swale that's gone through behind your homes.
Correct.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
over time, we've been there for 30 years. It's gotten
yeah.
gradually a lot
So
worse.
what we are doing is, we're gonna cut off the drainage that's getting there from I guess it's the west side of Orchard and kind of the north side. So that'll get intercepted and right now that doesn't happen. So it kind of flows down through there and gets
Right.
into the backyard.
So we didn't actually talk about the design, but as you know, Lafayette Road sits above you guys. And it drains that way. So as part of this design, we're actually picking up the flow that's coming down from Lafayette. We'll pick that up in the street, and then there's actually diversion so that the water no longer continues going across the street and then through the yard. It'll get picked up in the street now. So we kind of looked at the topography of the whole neighborhood when we did the design iteration process. So it is our intention that we'll be picking up and drying out a lot of that. Now, we're not actively going into people's yards to dry out
Still a
yards,
low
but
spot back there. It doesn't
Right.
drain well, but it hopefully will limit or reduce the amount of stormwater that's going there to.
And we also add, so along up there as well, there's a bunch of stub outs for potential drain connections too, so.
We'll take a look if they're in your
There's
area there.
opportunities for it's not you specifically, but your neighbors there's a potential there. Some of that water could be intercepted before it even gets there too, so. That's what we're trying to do is stub out a bunch of these drain connections in the storm drainage system.
and just pull the mic up to you so people can hear you.
Good afternoon or evening, rather. Joe Marcy, 110 Willard. This summer, we have a planned move, including a van line. What's the road usage? Our scheduled move is at the end of June. So obviously this disruption changes our plan for that, with respect to contractors that are scheduled.
What do you?
So we're moving out of the neighborhood and
Yeah.
having a packing company come.
Yeah.
And they'll do that in 2 days. I'm not sure.
That
what
won't be a problem.
Okay, and
No issues.
room, like the trailer or whatever on the street for that
It's gonna
day.
be fine.
Okay.
We'll work with you.
Okay, and then also on the other map, there was no driveways indicated on that southern ash perspective. Is there any plan that was missed on that, or is that just not something that's tied in?
That we're doing trench paving for that south side of Ash Street.
Yeah, it's just drainage and it's just trench. So it's supposed to be at the same elevation that it is now.
Understood.
On that
To
street.
tie it.
Yeah, Ash Street, was redone and is in pretty good condition. So
Ye-
that's, yep.
Our frontage is along Willard, but our garage and
Willard gets
driveway
done,
is
but
on
not that
Ash.
street as
Yeah,
such.
Ash Street will be very minimal.
Understood. Thank you.
Yep.
Hi, I'm Tom Riddle. I live at 109 Ash. Could you talk about what is the plan for Ash Street? Our end of Ash?
Yeah, so you have new water and sewer on Ash Street that was done not that long ago. But we are extending a drain line. Can I see my plans?
Yes.
When was that work done?
For 12, 14 years ago. And then I came in, I built the sidewalk and I paved the road after they were done.
Let's see, we moved there in 09.
Yeah, it would have been just before that.
Okay.
So that's new water and sewer, and then, but there is some drainage issues.
Yeah.
And so we are extending a drain line up Ash Street to add some catch basins to it and add some, a drain for people to connect to for sump pump type.
So I can hook my sump pump. That's okay. Great. And you'll send out an email to, how do I make the connection to make sure that happens?
We're gonna talk to John while he's out there and you'll make arrangements.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
And during construction, there's no fees, correct? But if you want to come back at a future date, not during the construction window, we have a connection permit process, so we encourage you, while we're out there, it's the best time to get connected, so. And the fee is nominal, it's more for tracking purposes, just we want to make sure we know where things are connected.
Right, and just kind of reinforce that, a lot of people in this room have sump pumps. So this is a kind of a wet neighborhood, and we want to really reinforce that, one of the major goals of this project is to get those sump pumps to drain into the storm drain connection that we're gonna give you, because it is unbelievable when you don't realize how much water that sump pump is putting into the sanitary sewer if it's illegally hooked up. And you're all paying to have that water treated at the sewer treatment plant needlessly. So even though we already paid for the sewer treatment plant, we still have to pay for all the chemicals to treat all that and all the electricity that goes into running that plant. So the more stormwater that we take out of the sewer system, the better off you are. The bills will go down. So kind of like that's the overall goal here is to get that basement water out of the sewer system. So that's why we spend a lot of money. You don't realize how much we spend to give you the little storm drain connection that we're going to give you on the side of your foundation, but a lot of money goes into that, and we're hoping to get the money back by not paying for the sewer treatment plant to treat all that. I mean, the average house can dump thousands of gallons of water, way more than you use for your plumbing, if you have one of those illegal connections.
And even if you're dumping it into your yard, it just goes downhill to the neighbors who then pump it out again. So it's one of those things where getting it out of the area helps just in aggregate.
Ice sheets on the road.
Yeah, yeah.
Right,
Oh, yeah.
and slippery and slip and fall and all the other things that we try to avoid. Yes, sir.
I'm Doug Bennett, 162 Willard. The sewer line exit the back of the house and it ties into on Orchard Court. Mine doesn't go across to Ash. Okay.
Yes.
So the question is, it traverses my basement under the concrete.
Yep.
And then basically center of the house, basically where all the plumbing is coming down from the various, it's in the house. Are we going to dig up the floor all the way across my basement, or are you just going to connect it to the house?
Yeah, so part of what our kind of dilemma is right now is that we only know where it leaves your house. So that the more you can provide us with that kind of info, the better,
Yeah.
because we don't want to impact more than we need to. So if the sewer service is perfectly good shape coming out of your house and then coming around back to Orchard, then we would just again connect at that property line.
Yeah, but if it needs to be done, I would like to have it done at this point in time.
Right, and
Yeah.
that's what John would be.
Exactly.
coordinating.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
As far as parking on the street during construction, I have a boat. So would it be better I find alternate arrangements during the summer?
Yes.
It's quick.
Honest answer is yes. Yeah.
All right, all right.
Yeah,
Parking on the street,
water and sewer.
parking on the streets can be limited. I mean, not necessarily the dead ends, but parking in the main construction areas can be limited to non-working hours.
Okay,
So, and weekends, of course, which are part of the non-working hours.
right.
Yay. So, And because there's no laydown area for Grenese, they're gonna be stacking all the all the manholes and stuff that has to go into the ground, all the pipe.
Yep.
All that's gonna be in front of the houses too, so there's gonna be very limited on-street space available.
Okay. And the rest of the questions I can address with him.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
One last one. Looks like we have a sidewalk along Ash, the Wybird side of Ash.
Yes.
But how, okay, we have, you can see in the picture, there's a camper in the back of 111. We still have a trailer there. Moving it in and out onto the street.
Yeah.
And there's I think we spoke.
I
about
think
it
we
a
did.
year and a half ago.
I'm pretty sure that we talked about
Yeah.
this. Yeah.
How about a depressed area so we can just roll it in and out rather than going up and down a curb?
Yeah, I think we talked about putting in a low curb so
Okay.
that you could roll over.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Uh,
I'm pretty sure that made one of the design plans.
That's awesome. Great. Okay.
To be confirmed.
Yeah, we'll confirm that.
Or,
Thanks.
yeah. All
Hi,
right, we have a number of
Come on
people.
up.
Some people online.
Okay, we're gonna take this question and we'll go online.
I just want to go back to the drainage. So I'm Deb Aldino, 28 Orchard Court, and I spoke to you about the drainage and how I guess my sump pump was illegally connected to a sink in my basement, and I didn't really have problems. But then when I discovered it was not correct and we had it go to my backyard, now I'm having issues. So I would just really think it would help my house out. So yes, I'm being very selfish. If we could put drainage on Orchard Court. Because right now it's just flooding. It's flooding my backyard.
And I'll speak to that, and everything rolls downhill, and her backyard flows into my backyard. so-
And I know you told me that my street's not long enough and that Ash Street was long enough, but
The thing there is that any drainage in the street it will not remove the water from your basement. What the catch basins do is they take the rainwater that hits the street and then channelize over into the catch basins. The water in the basements there really come from south of South Street. The entire area is on a slope that goes up on Orchard Court as well as Ash. And it's percolating in through the ground farther uphill, hitting ledge, coming down that ledge, the bedrock, and hitting foundations. And it's easier to go through a foundation than it is through the rest of the dirt downhill. So there's
Let's look,
well,
let's,
I would like
I
to
understand.
hook my sump pump up to
understand what you're saying.
the wastewater.
Let's look at
or
it.
whatever it is.
Let's look at it and see if we
The
can
drainage thing.
make something work.
Okay, otherwise I'm
Okay.
gonna illegally connect it back up to the sink in my basement.
that.
I'm just telling you that.
Okay.
pause the recording for 10 seconds. Oh, yes, we'll ask Sarah. Yes, Sarah, if you'd like to unmute and ask your question.
Hi, yes, unfortunately, I have a number of questions. The first one is when I'm looking at this map, I don't see the proposed curbs. It was my understanding that there were going to be curbs along, so I'm at 171 Willard. It was my understanding there were going to be curbs along that north side of Willard, but it doesn't look to be depicted here. Is that an error in the image or an error in my understanding?
Yeah, it's just the scale of the drawing.
Yeah, hard to show it.
Yeah,
a
yeah.
curb.
So yes,
Too
there is,
long.
there is curbing along Willard, yes.
Okay, all right, excellent. The second one was, and I know somebody else asked this question already, just about the plants along the curbside. So right now in front of my house, we do have a grassy area. We do have the sidewalk, and this is like the season to move plants. Is there a better scale drawing of this map that you could share so that if we were to need to move plants so they don't die and we don't lose some investment, that we were able then to be proactive in the next few weeks before you guys start your construction?
Yes, we are posting this presentation as well as the plan set on the project's website after this.
Okay, all right, excellent. That answered a number of my questions.
So Sarah, by the end of the week, we'll make sure that this presentation and the design set, the bid set, the construction drawings are on the project webpage, so you can just blow those up. They're a PDF, so you should be able to just zoom up on your screen, and they're drawn to scale.
Perfect. Okay, cool. Very good. Thank you. So another one of my questions was just based on the placement of some new telephone poles on the side of Willard coming into from Lafayette.
Yes.
Will Willard actually be a little bit narrower
Yes.
based?
Just at the intersection. It's extra wide right at Lafayette, and then it kind of will be pretty much the same width as it is as you get a little bit further down Willard, and it will match what's on the other side of Willard as you go towards Wyberg.
So that actually makes me very happy just from a traffic calming point of view, just because people do take that corner really fast. And even though my kids are a little older now, we still have kids riding their bikes in this neighborhood. So I'm happy to hear that will be a little bit narrower.
Oh, thank you.
So, oh, one of my other questions is we do have an existing tree right in front of our house. It's marked in green. There is some significant buckling on that sidewalk. So for those sidewalks where we do have huge tree roots growing underneath, will those be raised? Will it be kind of like at an elevation? Like how does that work?
There's a bunch of stuff going on, Sarah, to be honest with you. We looked at each tree and where we were gonna put the sidewalk, and we analyzed already which trees we were gonna have to remove, so if the tree's green in the plans, that means that we thought that we could work around the existing tree and build the sidewalk this way, that way, or the other way in order to preserve the tree. So if the tree's green, it means that we already kind of like analyzed it and figured it out.
Okay, awesome. And another thing, we do have a sump pump tie-in along the orchard side of our property. That's not on this map. Who should we get in touch with just to let them know that this is already tying into storm drainage?
There's no storm drainage there now, so if it's tied,
Oh.
it's not tied into the right thing.
I believe there is a.
There's a drain like right at the edge of our property that I would have assumed that would have been storm.
What I meant by that is, it's going into a catch basin, but the catch basin is then tied into the sewer. So
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
you did the right thing, and now we're gonna do the right thing.
Okay, so we don't need to get in touch with anybody if it's already there and it's existing. Good.
We'll tie it in, you don't have to worry about it.
Okay, cool. And then could we just quickly look at the drainage and sewer map again, please? So the squares that you have along the blue squares, is that where we're anticipating drains to be?
Those blue squares are the catch basins, yes.
Oh, perfect. Okay. I love your placement along Orchard near our property. So that's perfect. Thank you very much.
Glad we made you happy.
Yes, so those are all my questions. I appreciate this time to ask all these and get this figured out. So thank you for your work.
If you come up with additional questions, don't forget to ask John.
I've already got his name written down, so don't you worry.
Yes. And then Annette Sullivan.
Annette, can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Can now, yes.
Okay, thank you. One thing on the website for Willard Ave Sewer Project, the email box, the field to input your email is non-existent, so I couldn't update that.
Okay, we'll work on that. Thank you.
Okay. Yep, and then I had a question on on the days that you need to close a driveway, where would you anticipate us parking if we can't park in the street and there's really no parking on Lafayette?
We will
Any
be wo-
suggestions?
We'll be working in specific spots on the street, linearly working our way down the street. So we will provide you with a space that we recommend that you park.
Okay,
So-
great.
Just out of the area that they're actually working in
Yeah,
that day.
Okay.
There'll be,
And it-
parking will be banned within the construction work area, which will be a limited area, and then outside of that, you can still park on the street. But they will.
Okay.
Areas where they are gonna be working and won't allow parking.
Just see John.
Okay. And I forgot to tell you, I'm at 248. And then a question on the existing sidewalks. particularly at 248, we have some bushes that bleed onto the sidewalk. Do we need to take care of trimming those back in order to have the sidewalk refinished? Do we know where it looks like the sidewalk's going to be much further out, as somebody earlier said, because of the placement of the new telephone pole. But I'm wondering about what we would be required to do.
Oh, no, it's the back of the sidewalk will be almost exactly where the existing sidewalk
Really?
is.
Okay.
The last strip between the sidewalk and the roadway in the ultimate configuration.
So it sounds like you got some trimming to do.
But if your bushes are okay now, as it relates to the back of the existing back of the sidewalk, then that's where the proposed back of the sidewalk's going.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. That's all I had. Appreciate it.
David Luff, could you unmute?
Yeah, can you hear us?
Yes.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Deborah Luff. We're on 97 Ash, and I wanted to ask if you are providing the stubs for the properties going up Ash so that we can put our sump pump drainage into the storm drainage.
We have Phil flipping through the plans right now.
Yeah, we are where we can, and if you specifically have a concern, then we would certainly accommodate that, because we do have storm drainage. I was just seeing if we already had one planned or not. So
Yes, because we have a number of houses that in the winter pump water to the street from our sump pumps.
The engineers are looking it up. Stay tuned.
And this is something that I spoke with Zach about and another person.
7 Ash.
Is there?
Oh, is Ash Street Extension? Is that on the south side of Willard?
That's going from the bottom of Ash, intersection of, there's Orchard and Ash, and you go up the street and then you cross over Willard to the dead end part of Ash. And so I'm talking about the dead end part of Ash Street.
Yes, yep. So we are extending main
97?
service up that far.
Yes.
Will stubs be provided to households that want to hook their sump pump drainage into the storm drainage?
Yes.
Yeah, out to the property line. From the house to the property line, is gonna be up to the homeowner.
Okay, and what about sewer lines so that we can change our sewer pipes and connect with your sewer drainage?
Yeah, again, we're gonna be replacing these to the back of the sidewalk line.
Not
No?
on that part of Ash is just, it's just stormwater.
Okay, so that, is that the section that's already been done?
Yeah, that was, I think,
Yes.
2002. last
So-
checked
Yeah,
The
so that
2002
section's already been rebuilt
For the sewer.
for sewer.
Okay, so we will definitely be able to get stubs at our properties on the end of Ash towards the dead end part for
Mhm.
the sewer, the sump pumps to go into the storm drainage.
Storm drain, yes.
Because I know initially it was just going to be 2 drains, storm drains, but
Yep.
now okay, so we've talked about it and that's a definite.
Yep. It's a drain service that extends beyond that connects into those drains. Yes.
And if you go into the design plans by the end of the week, there'll be on the website you can look at this, where we're planning.
Okay, and is John, are you the person with the green hat?
No.
Who has the green hat with all those answers at the corner of the table speaking?
Dave's not here.
That's,
Okay, who's that?
works for the city of Portsmouth. He is our construction manager. He's absolutely amazing resource on all things construction for the city.
I know. What's his name?
Hey, DeFosis.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Hope you have a good night. DeFosis.
And
City's website, if you want to.
Sarah, I see your hand is up. Is that an additional question?
I apologize. No, that must have been just an accidental hit. I apologize.
All right.
How about Dave Luff? Same question?
No, we're good. Thank you.
Okay.
And then Emily Doe, I see your hand is raised as well.
Yeah. I would like John's email address too, in addition to Zach's.
It'll be on the page, when we, once we post this.
It'll be on the webpage.
It'll be on the webpage for sure. Yep.
Awesome. Sorry, John.
Any more questions from the audience?
Any? No.
She's our neighbor. I'll give her a call.
There you go, perfect.
Okay. Well, we look forward to terrorizing your neighborhood for the year.
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of projects, so we're super excited. So hopefully we don't inconvenience you too much. But again, we're trying to be 100 years. So this is, hopefully
Right,
your
big picture.
Children and grandchildren will be able to enjoy it too.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.
Someone else has been signed.
Oh, it's good.